Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to this murder list writing crime and thriller night with the Three Stooges or the terrific threesome.
Terrific. I like that. Terrific threesome. Yeah, I'll go for that.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
I'm supposed to be playing Mammy.
Yeah.
An Irish word. Now, to make Judith and Anita behave, I have a fly swat. So I'm going to smack them on the screen if they misbehave. I've also got a gong. So if they talk too long, I'll bang my gong.
I love it.
Or if I talk too long, I'll bang the gong. Anyway, we're supposed to start. I put the questions scribbled down in my writing, and I can barely read them. Right, so let's start. Let's start with Judith. Can you tell us about your most recent or your upcoming book, Judith? That wonderful book you've written.
Yeah, my upcoming book, it's just in the corner there, Local Girl Missing. And as always, I based it in the Northeast where I live. I kind of base it either around Durham way or North Yorkshire way. And it's about a lady who goes missing, and it focuses on the people that she works with as opposed to like her family. And it explores all their characteristics, and they're all a little bit damaged. They all have their own baggage, their own problems. But in the background, there is the story of a child growing up who is equally damaged. And basically, it's a little bit of a whodunit for the reader to work out who did it. And also why, the big why. Why has she kidnapped this person? Because this person has gone missing and she's holding her hostage. And in the first chapter, it becomes apparent that this person is being kidnapped because she resembles a family member. So I can't go into too much detail because I am absolutely awful at kind of explaining things. I give everything away. I'm dreadful, honestly. I'm awful writing reviews. So basically, it's a kidnap thriller, family domestic noir, would you call it? And it's available. It's what? Sorry,
I'd call it brilliant.
I've read it. Thank you. So it's available for pre-order if anybody fancies just clicking for 99 pence. Bit of a bargain.
Bargain, indeed. Yeah. Anita, you're up next.
Thank you. My upcoming book, rather than the one that's already out, is called The Family at Number 12. Now, I don't have a copy of it yet because it doesn't come out until the 29th, but I can sort of vaguely wave a bookmark around that will come with any of the books that come from me. And it's the story of a rape that results in the murder of the man and subsequently the birth of a child. And the book is about the child. The mother is one of the worst mothers that you could ever imagine, an absolutely awful person. Initially thinks that she's going to just, once she's had the baby at home and nobody knows about it, she can throw it down the cellar steps to be with the dead father. And she can then forget about it. But the baby turns out to be a girl, and that puts a whole different slant on the whole story. And so she hides the baby away until the day that she dies. And it's the story about what happens next, really. The book itself is split into three separate, well, I've called them books, three separate sections. The first part is up to where the mother dies, and then the second part takes the baby, or the child as she is then, through her teenage years, because she has no education whatsoever. She doesn't even have a vocabulary because the mother won't speak to her. She feeds her, but the very minimum. And it goes on from there.
I would say it's brutal and brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. Creepily brilliant. I love the ending. I absolutely love the ending of it. That was perfect. perfect for the story.
I haven't read that bit yet, so I'm gonna la 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 la.
I won't tell you. No, I wouldn't. It was just a brilliant end. I thought the ending was just perfect for it. So yeah, just saying hello to everybody who's come in. Judy,
Hi.
Donna, Judy, Alison, Ruby, Mary, Linda, Donna
Oh,
Moffitt,
hi,
everybody.
Hi, Donna.
We are going to behave. I have my flight swap to make sure they behave.
So we need to hear about your book, Val.
I will tell you about my book. Came out on, I don't know what day of the week, day before yesterday. The Widow is a story again, a story of a damaged young girl who grows up and desperately wants to have the perfect life. So when she meets a woman called Portia and discovers that she's married to this ultra rich man, she decides, this is the way to go. So she meets Philip and she marries him because he's wealthy. But everybody in this book has secrets and nothing turns out the way it's supposed to. So there's another friend she makes over on the internet called Jo, and she becomes friendly with her. But Jo, again, has her own agenda. So it all comes to a head in the end, and it's fun.
Explosive. There's a word to describe the ending. Explosive.
It's good fun. I enjoyed writing it. It all came together quite nicely in the end. So that's it. Okay, next question, because I'm the person with all the questions here. If I can read my own writing, which is a bit hard. What made you want to be a writer? Anita, what made you want to be a writer?
I don't think I ever wanted to be a writer. I just felt that that's what should happen.
Oh.
And
Just like a natural progression, as you do.
I didn't crave being a writer. I just did it. It was as simple as that. It was something that happened naturally within me. Never thought for 1 second I'd be a published writer. Not for 1 minute at all. But it did happen. And now, all the stories that have run around my head for the past 65 years are all now having to be written very fast.
When was your first book published, Anita?
The first book was published in 2015, but it was actually accepted for publication in 1995 when I wrote it. And we were about to sign the contract when the company went into liquidation.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
well, that must be so destroying.
I wrote it on an Amstrad 8256, so you can imagine there was no email then. It came back to me as a whacking great paper that I put away. I was so disheartened, and I thought, see, you stupid fool, you weren't meant to be a writer.
Oh.
And so I just put it away until 2013, and then I thought, I better type this into the computer that's a proper computer, and leave it for the kids so that they will know that when I'd gone, this was the book that Mum had accepted, and it never came to anything. So I spent a lot of time typing it in, 2 years. Didn't alter anything. Just typed it as it was from this great, and it was 100,000 words.
Wow.
2 years later,
Wow.
I finished it on the Saturday morning at the same time as I saw an advert from Bloodhound wanting submissions. And I thought, shan't I? Nah, I'll not. And so I did look it up and see what they wanted. And they wanted just the first 20 pages and a bit of a synopsis about it. So I thought, go on then. So I sent it off. And on the Monday, they contacted me to say they wanted to see the rest of it. And on the Wednesday, contract.
Wow.
Anita, that is a story in itself. That is a book. It
was amazing, a brilliant time. And that was when I thought, maybe I can do this. You know, maybe.
Yeah. That is amazing.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
What about you, Judith?
Oh, God, I've always wanted to be a writer. Always. When I was little, I was always writing stories. And I tried. God, did I try. I did my degree as an adult and got that out of the way with, and then thought I want to do something else. So on a night after work, I used to just sit and write. I wrote rubbish. It was nonsense. And I used to send it off and got turned down. And then some agent gave me some tips. So I kind of refined my writing skills, I hope, and spent another couple of years writing a book and sent it off to, must be 50 agents and publishers, and still got turned down. So I rewrote it again. So God knows how many years it took me. And then again, Bloodhound accepted it in 2016, and it was published 2017. Not quite as good as Anita's story.
It's
I've
you
got
haven't heard mine yet.
to
You
talk
haven't
about.
heard mine. Actually, mine's much the same as yours, Judith. I'd
Yeah.
always wanted to write.
Yeah.
And I used to kind of dabble a bit. You'd write
Yeah.
a few words and you think this is rubbish, and you toss it away. And it wasn't until I was almost 50 when I decided I'm either going to write a book or shut up talking about wanting to write a book.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I literally wrote the book straight out. But the funniest thing was, the publishing business is such a huge learning curve. I thought, there's my book. Everyone's going to come running wanting it. And of course, nobody wanted it at all. Like you, I sent off to loads of agents. And back then as well, you had to send off the typewritten copies.
Yeah.
Cost a flipping fortune. Then they all came, actually, they only came back if you paid for them.
Yeah, queuing at the post office. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. But then I decided to self-publish. My sister posted me an article she'd read in the newspaper about self-publishing. So I self-published 9 books before I...
Wow, I didn't know it was that many.
I decided again. I'd actually submitted to Bloodhound and they turned me down.
Oh,
and I'd submitted to book
horror.
and they turned me down. So I was going through a bad patch in work and I decided I have to get out of this job because I used to be a nurse. And I submitted again to Book Couture and they rang me and said, "Ooh, we like this." So that was it. I got a contract. It was about 4 months later before I got a contract. And I had 2 books out with them. And then I went to Bloodhound because Book Couture just didn't want me anymore. So I ended up in Bloodhound. And now I'm with you both in Boldwood.
Brilliant.
I'm just going to answer a couple of questions here. Sue Clayton, first of all, wants to know the old psychological books, these 3. And yes, the answer is yes. Easy answer that is. Next question from Sue. Where do you get some of your dark storylines from? Now, you 2 have written 2 very dark storylines. So what do you think?
Anita, I'll let you go first because your current book, The Family at Number 12, is quite brutal. I'd love to know where you got that storyline from.
Well, I do have to start out by saying that I don't plan. So anything that happens in my stories happens accidentally. But the thing that started the Family at Number 12 was Dave's my husband, was Dave saying, "This is a funny statement in the paper. I can't imagine what it must be like. It's the house with no books." And I don't know what it was in connection with or anything. I didn't actually see it, but this phrase stuck in my head. And that began with a sentence, and it's ended up as a book of 80,000 words.
Wow.
That is quite spooky, I think is the word for it.
It's very dark.
I don't mean in a supernatural way, but it is very dark.
Eerie, I think, is the word. Yeah. Very eerie.
It all began with that one phrase.
Wow.
Books.
Wow. Funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of magpie ideas from other books, from films, from, like you say, a phrase, an odd phrase, headline in a paper. And quite often what you start off with isn't what ends up written down. It just changes and you think, this is not what I had planned, but it just happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. I love when that happens. I love when you're in the middle of a book.
Yeah.
And you're trying to think, I'm not really too sure where this is going. And then suddenly the characters kind of take over.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Typing what they're doing kind of thing. And this is great.
Yeah.
And that when the ones that you don't know are going to be bad, but then they do something and you think, oh yeah, going to make it really bad.
Yeah, kind of one rogue sentence and it sends the whole story off in another direction, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think we all work the same way. We're all pantsers, aren't we?
Yeah.
None of us actually plan anything.
Oh, no. But we were talking, weren't we? Sorry.
Yeah, I do try to plan.
I try, but it doesn't work
very far.
Particularly with this in November, where we're doing NaNoWriMo, and for anybody who doesn't know about that, that stands for National Novel Writing Month, where you sort of commit to writing a minimum of 1,666 words a day. And really, to keep that up for 30 days on the trot, you need to plan.
Yeah, it's a big ask, yeah.
It's no good for me, because 3 days in and the plan would have gone absolutely out the window.
Haywire.
But nothing would resemble anything that was original. I can't plan.
Because I don't know about you ladies, but I constantly backtrack. I'll write maybe 3 chapters, then I'll go back and rewrite them. I edit as I go along.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's where I get to the end and I have to go back and change chapters. I've actually stopped putting numbers on my chapters. Now I just write chapter, because I change my chapters around. And I got so fed up of trying to go back and change the numbers. Now I just put chapter. Yeah. I put all the 1s and 2s in later.
Next chapter, the one after.
Yeah.
But I was going to say the dark storylines. We were talking earlier, weren't we? My house backs onto a river and Val's backs onto a graveyard. So there's a couple of storylines, dark storylines straight away, yeah.
Yeah, and we've both I've used the cemetery and Judith has used the river. So it is.
Yeah, there's a river in a kind of dense wooded area, and on a night that's pretty spooky. So I often use that, yeah.
Creepy. More questions here. Alison Valentine wants to know, do you ever get upset, angry, or fall in love with the characters you write? I'm going to answer that because I fell in love with Mike West in my crime series. He's just gorgeous. I mean, of course, I write him gorgeous. So, but I mean, he's the epitome of every man you've ever wanted to have met growing up and never did. I mean, I love my husband dearly, but he's not Mike West. Mike West is just perfect. He's tall, he's handsome, he's clever, he's witty, and I love him. So yes, is the answer for me anyway. Yeah. What about you two?
I did with the first book, with Beautiful.
Yeah.
The main character in that, who married, I can't even remember the names, it's so long since I wrote it. But the main character in that was absolutely delicious. And when I had to kill him off, which I am pro in my books, I was heartbroken. But he's
you mean thing.
I know. It felt awful after I'd done it, but I did.
It's got to be done.
It was a heart attack. It wasn't murder, so it was a nice death.
Yeah. Phoebe, my main character in my first book, Undercurrent, I loved her because she was so bad. She was brilliant. You know, like somebody so bad and you love to hate them. Yeah. And I loved her. I thought she was great. Yeah. And she didn't die, so she might make a comeback at some point.
Bad characters are great to write, though, aren't they? You have to do anything. I have a series with a serial killer, and she's just great. She's so evil. They can do anything. It's great. It's great to write. Really celebrating.
Yeah.
I've heard it said that actors love playing baddies, and I totally get that. You can throw yourself into it. Yeah.
It's just fun. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Sian? Is it Sian? S-I-A-N? Sian Dawson.
Sean.
Oh, sorry, Sean. How do you cope with writer's block? Do either of you get writer's block?
Once I have, once. Just take time out. Just don't even look at your laptop. Just do other things other than writing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at the deadline date for getting it in, and that cures it.
That's massive pressure. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I sometimes get tangled in a plot line, and the way I solve that, I go for a walk. I can go for a walk in the river. Yeah. And I swear to God, when I come back, it's untangled in my head, which is great. I wouldn't call it block. I've never had a block yet. Touch wood, friends. Touch wood. Good. Oh, floor. Sorry. touching the
Yeah, I
floor.
think stepping away from it completely helps. Otherwise, like you say, it becomes too tangled in your mind and you can't think straight. So yeah. Only once I had it and it wasn't pleasant.
No. Ruby wants to know, do any of you know the ending before you begin writing?
Oh God, no.
I don't know the ending when I get to the end.
I think it's hilarious because I've had a few reviews where people have said, I guess the ending within the first couple of pages, and I think I'm glad you did because I didn't know and I wrote it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, in fairness, I actually did write a book starting at the end. In fact, it's the book that's coming out in January that I originally wrote it as Exit 5 from Charing Cross. I actually started that at the very last chapter because that's the idea came to me. And then I had to backfill the story, which was
that must have been
quite a
hard.
weird way of writing, but not normally. Normally I'm like the other two. I have no idea what's going to happen. And like you, Judith, I'm always highly amused when people say, I knew what was going to happen at the very beginning. Good for you.
Yeah.
We don't because I didn't.
And I find I've done it with two of my books now. The first one was Gamble. And Gamble is partly based around a situation involving the Sian Dawson, who's just sent a question in because
I recognise that name,
yeah. And she was a manager in a betting shop, and she was held up at gunpoint, and that being held up at gunpoint sparked Gamble.
Right.
I got to the end of Gamble, totally at the end. I'd typed the end and everything, and I had one person who'd done the murders and everything. And I went to bed and I thought, that's wrong. So the next day I got up after having planned out who had really done it and added an epilogue, and it changed the entire book. And that is the one book where almost every review says, well, I didn't see that coming. And I thought, neither did I. Just don't. And the same thing has happened with the family at number 12.
Right.
It changed overnight.
Funny, isn't it? Yeah.
And you know, it's a bit scary when it happens because you think, oh, what on earth have I missed during the rest of the book? That could
I was going to say I'd need to backtrack then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With two books that's happened, and it's good. It's a good feeling to know that nobody knows because even
And I know I have the questions that Jenna gave us, but there's some really interesting questions here from our people commenting. Lucy Davis wants to know, what is your favorite book that you've written?
Well,
which of your babies
your favorite child?
Without a doubt, mine is Winterscroft because it's supernatural.
Right, yeah.
And it really is supernatural. It's ghosts and it's people doing nasty things, and I just had a whale of a time writing it. I wrote it at the same time as I wrote Beautiful back in 1995, actually, and lost it. I lost the entire manuscript, no idea where it went.
Oh my God.
I wrote 34 days, and because I wrote 34 days, Bloodhound said I was a good girl because 34 days sold a lot of copies. It reached number 22 in the charts, so it sold a lot of. And because I'd been a good girl and written that, they let me write Winterscroft again, and it was originally called Essence of Lavender, and it's about a girl called Lavender who is killed in a road accident but comes back when she finds out her boyfriend is about to marry somebody else 6 years down the line. She doesn't agree with it, so she comes back. Really quite a spooky novel, and so different. I've never written another one, I'm partway through writing another one, but it's for my own amusement. But this one I sent off to Bloodhound, and they said, yeah, okay, because you've done well with 34 days, we'll let you have this one.
I love a spooky tale. Love it.
But it's absolute. I love it. And I loved writing it, and I didn't have the original manuscript because, as I said, I lost it.
Wow.
And so I just sat down and wrote it and remembered the entire manuscript almost word for word. So I must have really writing it in the first place.
Wow. What's yours, Val? Your favourite book that you've written?
Funny enough, my favorite one is that one I mentioned a while ago, where I started the last chapter, which is actually coming out with Boldwood in January. I self-published it now several years ago. I just loved the way the story, it's my only book written from a male point of view. The only one I've ever written. I don't know why. It's just the way when I was actually sitting outside Exit 5 in Charing Cross, waiting for my husband to come back from a meeting. And I was sitting in a cafe there, and I saw somebody passing by, a man, and I just started thinking, I wonder where he's going and what he's doing. And that was the story.
So it's all those what ifs, isn't it?
The what ifs. And this guy, Jake, he runs away from home because he's the only child of working class parents who have no ambition, and he's full of ambition. He runs away from home to go to Oxford University, and he changes his life to be something he isn't. He wants to be upper class. He wants to be rich. He wants to have that background that he doesn't have. So he borrows it from everybody else around him, and his life just falls apart. And it just worked out really well. I also had great fun researching, because he lives in a very big house. He gets married, and they have their wedding reception on a boat off the coast of England, and I had to research all that, and that was great fun researching all that.
Can you imagine?
I wanted to be rich at the end of it, but of course I'm not. But anyway, so what about you, Judith? What's your favorite?
I'm torn between my first one, Undercurrent, but there's one that I wrote called Looking for Leo, which I loved writing.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Really enjoyed that one. There was kind of a little bit of my background in there, because I was once kind of called as a witness for an incident that happened with a child at school, which I won't go into, but I kind of used a little bit of that knowledge of what would happen in that book. And some books, as you know, are really, really tricky to write, and that one just wrote itself. It was probably the shortest period of time that I've ever written a book. I used to get up every day and think, right, I know what's coming next, which doesn't happen usually, does it? You think, oh God, a cup of coffee, I'll have a wander around, and it just wrote itself.
Yeah, gallon of coffee.
Oh God, yeah, totally, yeah.
Donna Morphus wants to know, what's the word or phrase you most overuse and have to edit out? Oh my God, for a list, Donna.
Oh God,
it's easy to answer, and it's just.
Yeah, just absolutely, just.
Yeah.
Sometimes
adverbs, all the adverbs.
Yeah.
Completely.
If you do a word count at the end, you know, when you do it, you do a word count at the end, you check each word and you put just in, and it tells you you've used it 70 times or 170 times, something ridiculous like that. Yeah, I do, and I tend to put actually in a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, completely, simply. So, I know,
words. Phrases. I'm not too sure what phrases. I have had to learn to leave very Irish phrases out, because they're not always understandable. But generally my editor says, I think this might be an Irishism, and I'd say, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
Irishism.
It's a Yorkshireism, and I think, oh dear.
Yeah. Mary Grand wants to know, why do you think people enjoy reading dark thrillers?
Good question. I think it's because people like a mystery. I love a good mystery, and I think also you can read about all the things, or write about all the things you wouldn't ordinarily do in your everyday life. But I think it's the puzzle, isn't it? Everybody likes to solve a puzzle. I think it's the mystery of it. I mean, I like spooky films, not necessarily gory films, but I think it's that escapism, isn't it? It's things, you know, our everyday lives are mundane. Mine certainly is anyway. So it's exploring the darker side, I think, of life that you usually wouldn't come into contact with.
I think it makes you feel safer and more comfortable in yourself when you're reading.
That as well,
It's all out there in books. It's not in your life. It's believe.
Exactly,
it's like when I was younger, I had a niece, and if anything bad happened, her consolation was, it happened in America, didn't it? And everything bad happened in America. That was her safety net. But I think for us,
it could never happen here to us. Yeah.
Never happened to us. Never happened to us. So Sue wants to know, Sue Clayton again, how do you feel about writing a series? What do you think, Anita? How do you feel about writing a series?
Queen of the series, 9 cozy mysteries. I loved it. I didn't want it to stop, and I would have carried on forever writing about Cat and Mouse and the Connection trilogy, which followed on from it. I loved the characters, and they weren't all goody-goody, but I loved them, and especially Doris.
Oh, she was brilliant.
Yeah, she was funny, and a lot of her is me. I mean, I can't do karate, but she could. But her sense of humour is my sense of humour, and it showed in the book, and it carried on through every book.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even in it. I mean, talk about planning. She wasn't in it at all. She just came in as one of the main characters' grandmas, who the main character lived with. And she came into the hospital to see her when Mouse was badly injured. And that was all it was. She came into the hospital to visit her granddaughter.
She was a proper wise old sage, like a sage, wasn't she?
Wonderful.
She was brilliant, She really was.
If you can build that up over 9 or 10 books, you've cracked it.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful series to write. It really was. And I was talking to one of the owners at Bloodhound, and I was talking about series and said, because they wanted me to stop at 4. and I wasn't too happy about that. And so I had this conversation with him, and he said, look, do what you want. He said, because I'll tell you now, you can write all the standalones in the world, but they won't earn you the money as a series will.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely right. When I look at my royalty statement, the figures for the Cat and Mouse series and the Connections trilogy series is, well, it's just totally different to the figures for the standalones. Yeah.
Have you ever written a series, Val?
I have, yes. I have 6 of my Irish crime series, but my standalones, I'm the opposite to you, Anita. My standalones are a lot more than my Irish crime series did. I think it just depends. I loved writing a series. I'm very disorganized, though. I think people who write series generally are organized and keep a note of different characters. And I had to go back to the books and see, what's his name in this one? And
I was going to say, I don't know how you would keep track of everything that went on.
Not for your disorganized like I am. Yeah. But I only wrote 6 because Bloodhound didn't want any more than 6. So that's why I finished it then. But I have readers saying that like another Mike West story.
You should
someday. I have another series. I have a self-published series that I'm hoping to get published maybe next year with somebody. You haven't written a series at all, Judith, have you?
No. I don't know if I would know where to start. It's just keeping track, like you say, of all the characters and all the plots and all the little subplots and having to bring them back in later on. I admire you ladies. I really do. I'm slacking, aren't I?
That's the easiest process, though. With a series, you know your characters. You're not learning a new set of characters.
That's true.
With every book that you write.
Yeah.
Got them. Oh, come in. Close the door behind. It's really interesting. And I keep a check sheet of all my characters in every book.
I hate you.
I know. I don't know how you find the time.
No. Actually, Donna's asking a question here, Anita. She says, did you give any of your series characters in book 1 a quirk you later regretted?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, very good question.
No, not really, because if I give any of my characters a quirk that I don't really agree with, I kill them. It's the easiest thing.
Unless it's the main character, of course.
Anita's great fun at parties. We hire her out.
Yeah. Lots of people are saying that Cat and Mouse are their favorite characters. Doris, yeah. All praise for your books. Sue Tort wants to know, hello, she says, hello, Sue. Do you
Hi,
find
Sue.
you approach your writing differently when you are writing a novel that is part of a series even? Do you find it easier?
Yes.
Yes and no. Talk about sitting on the fence there. I think it depends on the series. I mean, mine are crime series, so it's the way it's coming up with the storyline. Oh.
Yeah, but I've just written my first one in the series for Boldwood. The next one that comes out after Family at number 12 is the first one in a series called The Sheffield Murder Mysteries. I don't know what the title of the book is. I think it's Fatal Secrets. I think we're on with that one at the moment, but I want to carry on with that because I like the characters. And I wanted to write the next book as a continuation of that series. And I was told, no, we want to stand alone now. So
that's going to confuse you.
Yeah. It has done. And I'm sort of trying to keep the other characters in my mind, because I think to an author, if you're going to write a series, you should be writing one after the other.
Yeah.
Until you decide that enough is
momentum going. Do you know what's put me off writing a series? I don't have enough background knowledge of police procedural stuff, and I'm always worried.
The internet. You can find everything out on the internet.
Yeah,
right.
It's something that you pick up as you go along. I mean, I had no knowledge of it at the start.
And if you can actually email the Metropolitan Police and they'll answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The only people I haven't found helpful is my local police station. When I rang them and asked them, could I have a look around? And they said, we don't do that. I'm thinking, all right, I'll have to get arrested then, won't I?
So, I mean, as you're aware, I did jury service recently, and that sowed some seeds. And I thought, oh, there could be a story here. Because once you get to know the workings of the court, you think this. I actually thought that it was for dramatic effect, all the wigs and the malod, and it's not. That's exactly how it is. So that I might kind of use that in the future.
That could be a series.
I mean, there's loads of information. I've got a lot of printouts of things that I've looked up over the years, and I don't just let it go. I print it off and put it in a file, because you never know.
I did. I bought a book on it. Yeah.
You bought a book on it? Oh my God.
A police procedural book. Yeah.
I look it up, and if I don't find it on the internet, I just make it up. And I hope to God people don't catch me.
I hope that we get a good editor that knows.
Yeah. It's quite funny though, because in my Irish crime series, the police over to the UK to question a suspect, and somebody, a reviewer, actually said that would never happen. Yes, it does, because police came over to question my brother, who had been witness to a crime in Ireland, and he lives in the UK. And the police, Irish police, actually did come over, and they do have that reciprocal arrangement that they go backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
But even if you get it right, some readers will still think you're wrong. So sometimes you just can't win. So, but you know. We're writers. We're supposed to make things up anyway.
Grow second skin. Yeah, exactly.
Grow a second skin. Yeah. There's no more questions. Nobody's got any more questions.
No more
Why is nobody getting more questions? It's chic. No more questions. Okay, and I have to go back to the sheet. And
there you go. What's the weirdest review?
What's the weirdest or funniest review I've ever had? Oh, Donna, thank you for that. How many girls? How many do we have?
I've read them where somebody's reviewing a coat hanger or something ridiculous like that. They've got the wrong thing. They've reviewed something and said this aerosol doesn't work and it's under my book, and that happens. But like you say, the one where they say, I guess the end straight away, and the end I didn't know when I wrote it. I always that does. I find that highly amusing.
I had one woman who reviewed Exit 5 from Charing Cross when it was self-published, and she said she hated it because the man cheated on his wife. And I was so tempted to say, well, you obviously didn't read it to the end then, because he didn't. But you
Yeah.
know, she was happy to write a review anyway. And these ones, the weirdest ones are the ones haven't read it because they put something in the review that didn't happen in your book.
Oh, I had one that said it was disgraceful because there was a murder in it, and there's enough misery in the world, and it was categorized as a murder thriller.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 34 days. I mean, 34 days really is my biggest seller. It was a massive hit, both here and in the US. And I had a 1-star review that just said, "No, thank you."
I love it. Yeah, I know. You get them all, don't you? And it's this habit they have now. Now, of course, people can put a star up with no review, so you have no idea why they 1 or 2 stars. Sure, what do you do? That's now. I'll go back to this, but my light has blown, so I'm seeing it from the light of the computer. So if I get it wrong, okay. This is a good one actually. What is the best piece of writing advice you received? Now, I'm going to start this because early in my writing career, when I was submitting to agents around the country, like you, Jude, I think you said you'd sent off 50. I said,
oh God, yeah.
Well, one of them wrote back to me and said, "You overwrite." I had no idea what he was talking about, but I looked it up on the internet, and he was right. I did overwrite. Too many adjectives, too many adverbs, too many convoluted sentences, too complex, too trying to be smart. Yeah. So I cut out. I'm
guilty of that. Yeah.
The best bit of advice I ever received. So what about you two?
Less is more. Yeah. I've had that one before as well. I'm too flowery, purple prose. Yeah. And I need to trim it down. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Anita? Any good advice?
Just one piece that I saw from Stephen King. I'm a big fan of the man.
Yeah, me too.
And he once said, "Don't be fooled by an editor." An editor is exactly the same as you and not necessarily right.
Oh.
And I thought, yeah, it made a lot of sense. He was quite firm about it. So I think he must have had some sort of fallout with an editor when he said that. But he was stressing it, and he said, if you believe something's right, you
stick with it.
Stick with it. Don't let people force you into a change.
Yeah.
Have you read his book? Have you read his book on writing?
On writing, I have.
I've got that upstairs. I really, really need to read it.
It's brilliant. It's the best book on writing that I've ever read. Because I love Stephen King anyway, like Anita. He's a brilliant writer. So it's very, very well done. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
He's written the only book that I've read that's kept me awake for night after night after night, and that was Salem's Lot. I will never read it again.
I was like that with The Shining. I didn't
Shining.
sleep.
Oh my God, The Shining gave me palpitations.
Yeah.
Honestly, that absolutely traumatized me.
Gave me palpitations.
Yeah.
Terrible. Terrible. It's a terrible book, but terrible.
He's so terrifying that it's addictive, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And we're kind of running out of time. I want to flick through and see what best question. How important do you think a plot twist is?
I would say very really, because otherwise it kind of just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? You need those twists and turns to keep the reader intrigued.
Yeah. But it gets to the stage though, the reader is expecting a twist.
Yes.
You almost have to go put in a double twist.
You do. You've got to crowbar it in, haven't you?
Or triple twist.
Yeah. And I know. Yeah. I don't know about you. I know when I'm writing, I think this is going on a bit much now. I need to backtrack and put something else in. Yeah. I mean, we're readers as well, and if we get bored, readers are going to get bored.
Exactly. So, let's see what else I can find out here. I can't read my own flaming writing. It's a problem. What is your favorite part of the writing or publishing process?
Seeing the cover for the first time, that excitement. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And writing the end at the end.
Yeah.
The worst part I think has to be the waiting. It's when you give your book in and you're sitting there waiting for them to get back to you say if it's good or bad. And my
Yeah.
worst experience, in fact, ever was a previous publisher. I waited 3 months to hear back about a submission
Oh.
there, only to be told no, they didn't want
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I know, it's awful, isn't it?
Well,
By
I
which
would
time you're on your knees, your confidence has been smashed to smithereens.
I would never wait that length of time again.
No.
I was very naive. I mean, it
It's
isn't that
bullet.
many years ago, but I was more naive a few years ago. I wouldn't
Yeah.
wait that length of time again. But it is.
Well, I
it's that
think as well, once you've sold some books, you get a bit of confidence and you think, well, other people have wanted me, they've read me, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But prior to that, I mean, when my first book was released, I felt as if I was opening my diary for the entire world to read it. It's taken me some time to distance me from my books.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whenever anybody said, I've read your book, I used to cringe.
I think with the number of books that we've written between us, we can step back now,
Yeah.
can't we? We can
Yeah.
step back and evaluate and
Yeah.
bit
know
easier.
the book is good.
Yeah.
I
It's
think-
difficult to do that at the beginning.
I think too, at this stage in our careers, we've made writing friends, and that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. Because in the
Oh,
beginning, I
massive.
didn't know anything. I didn't
Yeah.
know what other writers. I didn't know if I was doing right or wrong, or how to think
Yeah.
really about
Yeah.
my career. Now I have
Imagine,
YouTube.
like 30 years ago, sitting in a room at a typewriter with no internet, nobody to talk to. It must have been excruciating.
Yeah.
Imagine doing it by pen. Oh my God.
God, I know.
Yeah.
No.
Who has
No,
another
no,
question for us? Do any of you get woken up with ideas running around your head at night? Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Insomnia.
yeah.
Actually, some of my best book ideas have come in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. When
Crazy.
you're totally not expecting them, you
Yeah.
can't find a pen, you can't find a notebook, nothing. Yeah, it's very annoying.
My dad always used to say, take a notebook and a pen, put it on your
Yeah.
bedside cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's right.
Yeah. Or when you wake up middle of the night and you've been thinking about your book and you come up with a perfect sentence and you think, oh, that's just what I wanted, and you think,
Yeah.
I'll remember it.
And then
And
you
wake up in the
don't.
morning and you think, what
Nothing.
was that sentence?
I
And it never comes back to you again, and you
No.
regret that one sentence forever.
know.
I still have, fears.
Oh God, yeah, and you think that one sentence that would have made the book a bestseller. That would have been it.
Yeah, we all do the same. More questions. Well, sorry, upside down book. How important are settings in your books?
Very.
I'll let Anita answer this one.
Yeah, because with the whole cat and mouse thing, everything was set in Eyam. As with the Connection trilogy, the whole thing is set in Eyam in Derbyshire, which is the playing village. So you can bring that historical aspect into it, especially as it approached COVID, because it was exactly the same situation we did in 2020, exactly
Yeah.
what they did in Eyam all those years ago when the plague reached them.
Yeah.
And I was able to bring all of that in dribs and drabs. I mean, obviously you can't make it a history lesson, but over the 9 books, little bits came out about Eyam and everything. And I think it's so important that you get the setting right and that you use the setting. The setting almost becomes another character.
Yeah.
And I think it really is so important.
I think it's really important. Yeah, mine are always set in the northeast, and
Yeah.
I always use the surrounding towns, surrounding landmarks.
Yeah.
It also brings it to life in my head, so I can then concentrate on the plot because the setting kind of writes itself.
Yeah.
I'm the
That's it.
exception. I'm the exception to the rule. Though I actually don't find the setting particularly important from my point of view. And I set my psychological thrillers in London, and
Yeah.
that was really only to separate them from my crime thrillers, which are set in Ireland, or my other ones are set down in Cornwall. And I set them in London, and I don't know London hardly at all.
And yet I thought you did, because I've read your book set in London,
Yeah.
and it really jumps out. The
London.
setting.
Google Street Maps.
Really.
The only time I've actually gone in to do any research is for which book? my last book, I had to go into the Tate Gallery because part of it is set in the Tate Gallery. And it's very hard to get a feel for that from the internet. So I met my niece there for coffee, for lunch actually, and it's very expensive to go there for lunch. I discovered too late. But it's an incredible building. But I would never have been able to capture that if I hadn't got into it. I mean, streets are different. I mean, streets are streets and buildings are buildings. But the Tate was an exception. So I did.
Well, you did it well, because I thought you knew London really well when I read your book. So there you go.
Thank God for Google Maps. Tell you.
Yeah.
Although somebody criticized me, one of my books, the little Lies. Yeah, somebody. It's set on the coast outside London, and somebody queried I referenced a sea breeze. And they said, well, it's not on the sea; it's in an estuary. You don't get a sea breeze. Okay, would you actually say estuary breeze? I mean, it isn't the estuary; it's the sea that goes into the estuary. Anyway, you get people like that. Sue says, I sometimes feel scene settings or descriptions are a bit long-winded and become page fillers in some cases. Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Sue.
Sometimes it can.
It depends on how you use it. And YouTube don't use it like that. But sometimes. That's all that books on that. Sorry. Ooh. No. Phew. Can't read my own writing. Oh, can you tell us about how you create characters in your books, particularly a bad character? Do you know from the start if they're going to be bad or not? But I think we've already discussed that kind of, haven't we?
No, I was going to say, I think they grow in badness, if that's a word, as the story progresses. Because if you get stuck, you think, oh, I know what they can do. And you pick something particularly horrible for them to do.
But mine tends to evolve without my permission. Like the one that I'm currently working on. I know that this character has to be a baddie. He's got to be a baddie. And I've introduced him in the last chapter, and I like him. Now, what am I going to do? I mean, he's evolved not into a baddie, he's evolved into quite a nice person. And I'm not quite sure now what this means for the entire story, because I don't think I can make him bad.
A lot of change involved in that.
Yeah.
We try and explain why they're doing what they do, so you get into their head and you feel like you like them.
I had chosen my bad guy and I'd chosen my good guy of two male characters. And when I got kind of 3/4 way, I said, I don't really like him very much. I didn't like him as a character. I said, I think I'll make him the baddie. So then I had to retrospectively go back and change the bad guy to a good guy and the good guy to a bad guy. And I was
that kind of being
myself up in knots. I was.
Yeah.
I did it.
I think you start off with like a little person, and then they grow and they grow and they grow throughout the story, don't they?
Yeah. And it's changed the way that I'm looking at the rest of the book now. So I'm a bit annoyed with him, really. It might be nice, but yeah.
Do you like to write in first or third person?
I like first, but I know not a lot of people like that.
I can't do it. This one that I'm currently writing is one that I started about probably more, about 5 years ago. And I started it because I wanted to have a go at writing in the third person, because I'd never done it. So I thought, well, I'll just make a start on a book and see how and I got on quite well with it. And then when I pulled it out again to carry it on now, it feels wrong. The whole I this and I that, because I can't use anybody else's feelings when it's first person.
Yeah.
So I've had to go back to the beginning and rewrite the entire thing in third person, because I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. The way I get around that is you have 2 or 3 characters in first person.
All in first person.
Yeah. But I really like it. Yeah.
I quite like writing in first. In fact, I'm writing my current one. I find it's much more immediate.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And
Very
it's a
stressful,
little
isn't
bit
it?
easier. The only thing is, all the action takes place with that one person. So unless you're going to bring in different points of view or something, and I haven't decided the one I'm writing at the moment for this
Yeah.
nano miny thingamajigger, which I'm already desperately failing at. But anyway, I quite like first.
I
Sue,
do. Yeah.
Sue wants to know: do you all have targets with amount of books per year? We all have different contracts, so I don't know what your contracts are. I can't remember. My contract is for 4 books.
Mine's for
Yeah,
5.
mine is as well. Yeah, is that over? It's over 2 years, I think, isn't it?
Well, mine's over a year. How did you
Mine-
know if yours over 2
Oh,
years?
over a year. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mine was for every 4 months.
Yeah, mine was. Yeah. So for 8, 12. Yeah, so it's just over a year. Yeah, which I've found tough. I used to be able to do, but then I got grandchildren, so
You work.
yeah,
I don't
and I
work.
work 2 days a week. Yeah, so it's tricky. I'm finding it tricky. Yeah.
I don't work. I don't have. I'm easy. But I actually have 5 books out this year because they're
Wow.
publishing my Exit 5 from Charing Cross. But in my naivety, when Emily said that they would publish Exit 5, I thought, I just have to give it kind of read through and girls, it's 8 years since I wrote it, so my writing style has changed so much in that 8 years. It took me 3 weeks to do the editing on it, so I thought I was going crazy by the end.
That's heavy
changed quite a bit. I changed a bit, responding to readers who had reviewed it and didn't really understand what I was getting at the end. So I tried to make that a bit clearer. So Sue wants to know, what kind of fiction books do you read? I read anything and everything.
I do. Yeah, I do tend to stick to psychological fiction. I must admit, to the dark thrillers. Yeah. Just it helps inspire me for my next book.
I have found that I can't read a physical book anymore.
No,
I can't. Mine are all Kindle. Yeah.
I read physical books. I like reading. I've just worked through I have old Georgette Hare crime novels. They're all written in the 30s and they're very dated, and some of them are actually surprisingly racist. But anyway, I've been working through them and I love them, and it gets me away from psychological thrillers for a while. Alison wants to know, how do you deal with 1-star reviews? Do you take them to heart or with a pinch of salt? We take them to heart. I take them to heart.
We go and lie in a darkened room and cry for a day.
Or we email our writing friends and say, some horrible person wrote a 1-star review. Yeah, we take them to heart.
Read them and think,
we shouldn't.
I think I'm getting better at dealing with them. I mean, if they're really scathing and abusive, then you think, but you've just got to accept them, take it on the chin.
And they soon drop down the list, don't they?
They do. It's not so bad when they have a bad review for a reason. They didn't like something, or someone dropped me a star in America because I used language. I think she meant bad language, but she said, you don't need to use language. It's like, well, how do I write a book if I don't use language? Anyway, I assumed she meant bad language, and which I don't think I did that much. But anyway,
no, I've been told off for profanities before now.
Yeah.
It would have been 5 stars, but you use the F word too many times, so 1 star.
Why do libraries not stock a better e-catalog? I struggle to find many authors on library apps. No idea. Sorry, Sue. I have no idea. Why don't you ask them? Ask them and tell them to stock our books. Yes. Tell them you've met 3 wonderful writers and you think that their libraries would be far better with our books in them.
Yes.
Can you imagine her going in and saying that? If you do, Sue, let us know. That'd be brilliant. Yes. I can't think of anything else to ask. And I've run out of pages. In fact, I've run out of the page.
I don't know what time we're due to finish, actually. I've no idea.
Jenna said she'd let us know when we'd 5 minutes to go. And in fact, it's now an hour. And there's been no sign of Jenna. So
any time now. That's the message I'm getting.
Maybe she's gone off to the pub and left us.
I think I'll join her.
I don't know.
We should have finished quarter of an hour ago, but you know.
Yeah, Alison
Well,
says,
I'm off to read Anita's The Family at Number 12 after this, so I think I need a glass of wine just to kind of brace myself because it's so
I have
dark.
to go and get my dinner. I've had no dinner yet.
I've
I've
had
no
no-
dinner cooked yet. My poor husband, I told Robert he'd have dinner at 7:30. At this rate of going, he'll have dinner at 8. Alison says, I think American readers don't like profanities. In that case, maybe they should read the blurb first. Maybe we should put in the blurb, there are profanities in this book, don't read it.
And
they
as
won't do
somebody
that.
once said, murderers don't kind of shout at people and say, oh, dash, oh, dear, and then pop
Exactly.
them over the head with an axe. They swear. That's just how it
Yeah,
is.
they do.
Yeah.
Johnny wants us to keep chatting. We're going to keep chatting until Jenna cuts us off, which is obviously not going to do. I don't know.
I have to say, I've been very impressed with some of the questions tonight.
They've been very good.
Yeah, they've been good.
Hard yet to use those at all.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And we should all take this time to plug our books. Local Girl Missing, The Widow, One Hot Summer.
Buy the Widow.
Yeah.
Buy the Widow.
Buy them all, everyone.
Buy them all.
Yeah.
Buy them all. They're actually, I've read them all, even my own, and they are very good. When is yours out, Judith?
7th of December.
Oh, it's a while out,
A
yeah.
little
But it's
while
on
yet.
pre-order.
But it's available for pre-order.
Yeah, that's just a week after mine. So
Yeah.
you will be bombarded with good books.
Yeah.
Yes.
And mine's out in January, my next one,
Yeah.
Wow.
and then April, and then June.
Wow.
Yes. I've got one in February and then June.
Yeah, I've got one in March as well. Yeah.
But I was just telling Judith and Anita earlier, I was having a shower so I can look nice on this. And I realized the book I've just given in, which is finished, it's gone through all the editorial process. I was in the shower and I realized, it takes place around 2008 because at the time of the bank crash, Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, they all collapsed. But I also made reference to Prince William and Kate Middleton being married. And I was in the shower and I don't think I got the years right because Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac collapsed in 2008. And then I checked and Prince William didn't get married till 2011. So I have to email my editor tomorrow
And say, please change it.
Prince William's girlfriend, not his wife. That should be easy, actually. I hope anyway. So,
Well, I think we have to wind it down now. That's the message we're getting because we're about to end.
where's the winding down? Where did you see that?
In the little chat bar at the side.
Oh yeah. Oh, you see, she did say 5 minutes to go, but I wasn't looking at the private chat. I was looking at the comments. You can't look at both. Right.
Well,
Okay.
I thought it's been brilliant. I've thoroughly enjoyed tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank
we
you
do a
everyone
little
for
dance
joining us. And
apparently?
thank you, brilliant questions from everybody. They were absolutely great.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice. Lovely talking to you too.
Thank you,
Back to
everyone,
WhatsApp
for
tomorrow.
tuning in.
Yeah. Speak to you both tomorrow.
Yeah,
See you
no
later,
doubt.
guys.